the death of cash money.
Hello and welcome to the Mark and Pete Show. We have seen a rapid decline in the use of cash as many people make long-term switches to digital card payments. Now, the pandemic has hit 2020 and we have seen a dramatic drop in the use of money. That's the physical cash, coins and notes. In fact, a 60% fall in the number of withdrawals just from cash machines alone. A remarkable statistic. And a dramatic increase in the payment of card usage. Now, of course, many people are rather worried about this because on the one hand, cash used to be king. Yes, that's the thing that used to keep the tills flowing. Well, not so much anymore. Many people are now working towards the digital world, but there are worries because of the increase in cybercrime. And that means that not only are businesses concerned, but also individual consumers. More people are working from home. More people are buying things with their computers and their smartphones. And then you have to think about, yes, it could all be gone in a flash. Goodbye, cash. Hello, bank cards. Stop the stash. Fill the junkyards. Spend and splash. And best regards, computer crash. Poor safeguards. Well, Clergyman Pete, I do hope that your cyber world is all tight and neatly secure. I do ask
I hope so too.
What do you think about the decline in cash? How is it affecting your world? Do you use it? And is it going to impact your community?
Well, yes, do I still use cash? Well, yes, I do. I use it every week when I pay the milkman. He comes around and expects cash.
Go.
And,
traditional service.
Yes, and he doesn't have the option of paying digitally, paying by card or paying by PayPal over his phone or anything like that, as other tradesmen can do. And so, yes, we're back in oldie worldy times when I have a milkman coming and putting my milk on the doorstep, and I pay him cash when he comes back to get the money. Yes, I do use cash, and I often use it in the local shop as well. It's much appreciated. And my churches run a social supermarket which runs only on cash. So it's certainly something that we handle a lot. In this area, people use cash a lot. People often pay for a wedding, which is about £500 minimum. It's just under £500 for a wedding these days in a church with the statutory fees as they are. And so people will bring cash in an envelope and hand it over to me on the understanding that I'm marry them, obviously. Otherwise, they'll ask for it back, presumably. But they hand over cash that they've saved up. So a cashless society would really impact them. I don't know if they have bank accounts. Many people do, but not everyone does. You know, you can't. It's an assumption that people make that you have a bank account, and so I see it still as part of the society. The impact that it has, this insistence on moving over, or the pressure to move over to using cards, to using digital money. What it does is it does disenfranchise some people who don't have a bank account, who don't have the wherewithal to use it. So it does have that effect. But really, there are far more pressing concerns, aren't there, Mark, of switching to cyber money, digital money, rather than physical cash, which is what we're talking about. I know cash is sometimes used just to mean ready money that's available. I'm using it here to mean physical money that you're hold in your hand. So paying in cash means coins, even 2p pieces, which I think they're not going to make anymore. I will hand those over and pay for my tuppenny chews that I buy in the local shop. And they haven't made them for many years, have they? But so there's, although that is an effect, it does disenfranchise people. There are more serious and I would say scarier aspect to switching over to cyber money.
Yes. Well, there are different aspects about this, and we're going to cover both the cyber world that we're now living in and what
Yes.
that all means, and we're also going to talk about the impact to both businesses and to the consumer. I did want to reference one point that you made, which is about the two pence piece, and just to illustrate the point here is that what we are actually seeing, ironically, is a coin mountain emerging, and this is not just ironically in the United Kingdom, but throughout the world. Effectively, many people haven't been using cash as much simply because either the lockdown, they've not been going out and about and spending their free cash. And so, what the Royal Mint in the United Kingdom has said, that it recently announced that it will not be making any more new two pence pieces
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
even
True.
£2 coins for the next 10 years, folks. And this is simply because the people aren't using the cash. Now, there is a counter to this, which the authorities have warned that if we're not keeping pace with the change in digital payments, this would lead to those who need cash at risk. Because, as Clergyman Pete mentioned, not everybody has a bank account. In fact, not everybody is even familiar with using a bank card. So I want to talk about the concerns about the digital world. Now, many people would find this a bit strange from a business person who typically tends to work with the digital world. That's digital transactions, that's buying and selling of goods, shares, etc. But the point here is, it doesn't matter what we call them, whether it's a share, whether it's a dollar, a euro, a pound sterling. It's something intangible. It's an algorithm, folks. It doesn't exist. It's just something that sits on a computer. And what we've seen is that certainly in the last 10 years, and accelerating certainly this year, is that the cyber criminal sees certainly 2020 as a golden opportunity to hack computers, businesses, and target the vulnerable. Many people have had to turn to their own personal computers to work from home because they couldn't work in a physical location. Perfectly understandable, but maybe they didn't have the latest software in the computers using an old Windows 7 operating system. And so what that means is that the cyber criminal has turned to automated systems. They're looking at phishing attacks, ransomware attacks to target businesses. We've seen many examples of that. We don't necessarily need to put more brands into the ignominy of the public again, but there have been small, medium, and large companies who have suffered. The worry here is if we moved away from a cash based society, we're going to possibly lead ourselves into further trouble. So here's a prediction, folks. I believe that cash is important. I think it's important to local businesses. We've always talked about localism, and I think that local companies, particularly local retailers, who rely on the cash to feed their businesses, where basically the small purchase is absolutely essential. Now, some people I know, certainly our listeners, will say, yes, but what about those nice little touchless cards where you could just swipe a simple card across a screen or a touchpad, and you're only spending 10, 15, £20. This is true, but the fact is the cyber criminal can still hack those too, folks.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
if you get them in the wrong hands, again, the intangible world is not a real currency. It's not a minted coin. It is something that is an algorithm. And I believe that what will happen here is, and this is my ultimate prophecy on this, my doomsayer prediction, I think that the less cash we have in society, it plays to the cyber criminal mindset. Now, whether that's within a business or the actual cyber criminal world, where what will happen is that we're playing to the world where the world becomes almost impossible to determine the evidence of where your cash really goes. How many people now actually have a written statement from a bank stating how much money you've got? How do you have a system of record? The days when you once walked into a bank and somebody filled out a little book or gave you a little statement that said you have a certain amount of money, and in Clergyman Pete's case, the numbers were just too great. Of course, it was a catalogue.
Yes, yeah.
But the fact is that the likes of you and I, listeners, will be thinking, yes, what happens if the cyber criminal world is such that all our money has disappeared? What would happen if it all disappeared overnight? I can see that happening, partly because it already has, and that's why I believe that we need to try and find better ways of putting cash back into our pockets.
Yes, and let me take you down another route, another problem with people being able to hack your information or have access to it because it's online or in computers, so it could be accessed either online or in other digital ways, accessing computer systems directly. The government, as well as major businesses, and which can be criminal, really, the way they operate. I mean, but we don't call it criminal because they're too big to be convicted. But if you have all your money online, people know what you're doing. You have to access it. They can know exactly how much money you've got and what you do with it. Now, it may be that you want to buy something that you don't want anyone else to know about. Maybe, for example, you live in China and you want to buy a Bible and you didn't want anyone to know, whatever it might be. Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 and 17 says this, and he causes the small and the great, and the rich and the poor, and the free men and the slaves, to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, and he provides that no one will be able to buy or to sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. Who's doing this? Well, the beast is doing this, and the beast is identified here as someone who is in charge, like a king or president or government, who's having control over what you're doing. And the reason he can control your free trade, making it no longer free, being able to control you, is because you are identified. You're identifiable. And so, although, of course, there was nothing in the mind of people writing those verses in the Bible to look forward to cybercrime or digital money, the principle is there. Don't let people have control of your ability to buy or sell, or you lose your freedom. And that's, I think, a real issue today. You should always be able to use cash when you need to, because if you don't use that, people can always trace you. Cash is untraceable. Obviously, I know people can put ink on it that sticks to your hands or whatever, but it's not traceable in the same way as you simply using your credit card, and anyone who has access to that computer system knows exactly what you've spent and where.
Well, the other thing as well, as many people will remember, or we're going to remind you folks, yes, I know that we've all been in lockdown world, but the fact of the matter is that certainly the United Kingdom paved the way, definitely, and many other countries, for moving away from paper-based currency or notes to polypropylene, effectively plastic money. To, one, enable that to be future-proofed in the sense of that it would last longer, but crucially with the security mechanisms built within the actual note itself. Yes, now many people are thinking, well, what was the point of all that if nobody's actually using it anymore? But here's the key. There were reports, certainly when the COVID-19 outbreak occurred, that many people felt that banknotes and coins were there to spread the virus. Now, the Bank of England, and indeed actually the World Health Organization, the WHO, has stressed that the risk is absolutely no greater than any other item that you may come in contact, and repeated the regular advice would be, whether you're actually handling cash or anything else that you may touch, just simply wash your hands regularly. So cash isn't necessarily a problem on that score, so I think it's worth ticking that box. Sure. But here's the other thing. I still maintain that we will probably see, hopefully, folks, some kind of return to normality, in the sense that people will be going more out and about. They will get more interactive. And those days where they can go to shows, clubs, pubs, concerts, they may even go to football grounds and actually watch their local football team. Yes, Clergyman Pete, I know that you're keen.
Oh, yes. Big fan.
The fact is that you then need the cash, because not everybody wants to fiddle around with cards and start putting passwords and pins in there, and cash does matter. And that's where the economy builds up again. And I think the funny thing is, even though there is small exchange of values, collectively it fuels the business, and more people need to get out and about. And I think that's a key thing. So I appreciate that many people are concerned about the spread of COVID-19, and they should be. It's more a matter of how you manage it. But in terms of the principle of cash, what I would say here is that many small businesses have relied on this. Clergyman Pete mentioned, and I'm sure that many of our listeners are thinking this is a hark back to a bygone era, where somebody had
where I
to
live,
put milk on your doorstep.
Yes.
And that actually, I must admit, is something that it is something I personally haven't had for many, many years. But we are seeing a trend where shopkeepers of various sizes are returning to actually supporting their communities, where they're actually delivering to the door. And yes, folks, we know that now actually that's a blessing, because the days where maybe certainly in recent times, where we couldn't go out and about, or we had concerns about going out and about, we can click a button and we can order goods online. But I think maybe now that what we need to think about is, how do we return to that society where we can build the economy, where the local flower store could deliver flowers to your door, the local milkman could deliver milk or yogurt or anything else that you wanted, and those little stores that you'd see in the marketplace. One thing that I certainly thought, and again, it's a community thing. We talk about it quite a lot. The local market stores that you typically see in your towns and your villages are rapidly declining, and cash is key to it. This is where it's important to try and build up those businesses, and we certainly need it going forward. Because what I would say is, from the economic perspective, we can't rely on big organizations. And the reason I can say this from a business point of view is that many of the large organizations are very smart. They are very conscious of the tax that they pay, and so don't be too surprised if some of them may shift their business and move their operations elsewhere. So small and medium-sized businesses are absolutely vital to any economy, and cash is king, both to the consumer and to the business. So, Clergyman Pete, I wanted to ask you, as we sort of conclude this point here, have you seen a way in which so there was a day, a time? Do you remember when people used to go to church and they used to put money in the little in a little tray at the end to sort of help the community? Yes, the collection box or the collection plate.
Yes.
What's happened to those? I mean, it seems
it's interesting. Yeah, a lot of people have moved to paying by direct debit using electronic transfer.
World.
However, when I moved to this church, or these 3 churches 5 years ago, I found that people were still doing it the old way. Something called an envelope scheme, where you have your envelope which identifies who you are. You fold up your notes or put coins in, however much you can afford, and you guarantee, or rather you pledge to paying a certain amount each week, because you can put more in, and you put that on the plate. This is then retrieved, and because the church acts as a charity, you can claim the tax back on it. Now, this has been done, and to the extent that people who hadn't been coming to church, we have reopened now, they saved up the little envelopes and brought them all in. Or some people actually came around to my house and pushed them through the door so that I could pass them on to the treasurer. So that's amazing, isn't it? So people live in these who are committed to these old ways of using cash, have other things that they've retained. It seems duty, responsibility, and even religion itself. So there's something about the old ways of physical contact, which we've been talking specifically about money, but there's something about these ways that we don't want to lose them all. Don't want to lose them entirely. Let's use this is my final thought here. Yeah, let's use things such as the digital world for what it's useful for, but let's not lose the old ways completely.
No, indeed, and let's not be too beholden to it, because there are dangers. Now, interestingly, folks, as we come to the conclusion here, now I'm going to reference the chair of the Public Accounts Committee, Meg Hiller, who's based in the House of Commons, said this. Cash use might be declining overall, but it remains a vital part of millions of people's lives, particularly for some of those most vulnerable in society. The government took its eye off the ball, and too many people already have to go out of their way to get their hands on cash. Yes, a very wise set of words.
True.
Now, listeners, a penny for your thoughts. What do you think about this? Do you believe that actually cash is dead and no longer has a place in society? Or maybe you are, like we've highlighted, concerned that actually the decline in the use of cash could actually kill some communities and cause some issues in the future? Why not log on to Mark and Pete and let us know your thoughts? Well, I know that I must admit that, Cledger and Pete, that vending machine that we got down the corridor, I've run out of cash. I don't suppose you've got any spare on you, have you?
Oh, my money's in my other wallet. Sorry.
Oh dear, yes. So with a few moths. Well, thanks for listening, and join us again next time for more topical topics with Clergyman Pete and Businessman Mark.